as we await Trump's speech, I'm joined by my panel. Scott Jennings is a CNN senior political commentator. Also with us is Bakari Sellers, a CNN political commentator. So just looking ahead, Scott, what do you expect to hear from Trump on the eve of his second inauguration?
Well, I'm sure he's going to be quite excited to be with his people. And, there's a lot of people who are in town who aren't going to get to see him, on the mall like they thought. So this is a chance for him to talk directly to those folks, thank them, and talk about how much they mean to him. I mean, they're the reason he had this political comeback. It's the most important and historic thing that's happened in modern American politics. And I'm sure he's going to be full of gratitude. Tomorrow, I expect a very direct and workmanlike speech from Donald Trump. I think he's got a real chance to talk to the American people directly in non-sweeping and non-flowery terms about the problems we face and what he can do about it at this moment. I mean, he's obviously going to sign a couple of hundred executive orders tomorrow, and they all have a purpose. And so today, I think it's enthusiasm and optimism and gratitude, and tomorrow, we're hitting the ground running and we're getting America back on track. It's going to be restoring confidence, I think, in America is the theme of the speech.
Bakari, what would you like to hear from Trump? Anything?
I mean, I'd be lying if I'm excited about the moment, but I will tell you this, that I think Democrats that want him to fail is probably not the best tack to take. I think that we shouldn't go back and hearken to the days of 2009 when Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich came out and prayed for Barack Obama to not succeed or be a one-term president or fail at the job. I think everybody should want him to do what's in the best interest of the country. The problem is we kind of know who Donald Trump is. I don't expect anything new. And I think that there's going to be a lot in there for Democrats to rally around and say this is not necessarily the country we want to see. For example, I'm not as much looking to day one as I am to day two. I think that many of the individuals around Donald Trump, the Jason Millers of the world, the Susie Wiles, have chosen a unique and easy foe for him in Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago. And when you go in and you begin to round up, do mass deportations, the question is, what individuals are you rounding up that have not committed a crime? Those mixed status families, those individuals who are making our supply chains work. Watching that play out, I think, is going to be extremely interesting. So
it is a fair question, and I will note this for our viewers. I actually years ago under the Obama administration, I did a ride-along in Cook County, a sanctuary city in Chicago with. Actually, Tom Homan was there and others. And I got a firsthand look of how they do this, how they operate, right? And I mean, going out and arresting those who are here illegally with criminal records, it's not like you might.
But there's no objection. I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's no objection to that.
There's no objection to that. But what I'm saying is.
But that is where the rubber kind of meets the road. But my question is, what do you do in mixed status households?
Right. So
my
if there's a criminal,
correct.
With living with others who are here illegally with a child who's 10 who was born in the U.S. What do you do?
But they cannot let, truthfully, anybody who came here illegally, by definition, is a criminal. They did break our laws. Doesn't mean they're violent, but it does mean they're a criminal. B, you cannot let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. And the good is doing what I think 88% of people in the New York Times poll said they wanted, which was mass deportations of illegal alien criminals out of this country. It's not really controversial what they're proposing to do. It's got widespread bipartisan support.
Right. Here's my point, though. I just want to finish the point that I was making was, Trump has set this expectation, and Tom Homan said there's going to be shock and awe. We're going to have mass deportations. It's actually logistically challenging to find the person. I mean, when I did the ride along, they arrested the wrong person. It was like the brother of the, it's not go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I think this is the policy disagreement that Scott and I will have, not letting the perfect interfere. But what happens is you're going to be mass deporting entire families, children, because Tom Homan has said out of his mouth that the way that you don't break up or separate children from their families is to send them all back. And so you're going to have those issues. But I think what Democrats have to do is we have to look in these major cities and look at some of the places where Trump is targeting. And I just hope and pray, I don't think he has the political acumen or the deftness to do it, that Brandon Johnson doesn't necessarily take the bait, which he will.
When you start trying to pick out individual situations, what about this, what about this? What Homan has said, and what I think is true, is you're just sending a signal that, well, we're going to continue to allow some of it. some of it's going to be okay. And what he has said and what he campaigned on is that none of it is okay. That we're going to have a legal immigration system, that we're going to know who's coming here. We're going to know why they're coming here. We're not going to continue to send a signal to the world, just get here and we'll figure it out and you'll probably be fine. That's why we're in the mess we're in right now. That's why millions of people came here over the last 4 years, and it ends beginning tomorrow. And I will tell you, if these blue cities in blue states and some of these local Democrats try to interfere, stop it, not cooperate, I think their citizens, their constituents are going to punish them politically, because people who live in these cities are being hit the hardest. New York, Chicago, they want a solution.
True. And Bakari, as you, I mean, some who were Democrats actually ended up voting for Trump because of the immigration issue.
And what Scott says is amazing in theory. However, in practicality, and when we come back and revisit this in 18 months, when you're talking about the supply chains that are no longer running as smoothly, when you're talking about individuals who do those menial jobs that no one else wants to do, when you're talking about in Georgia how they had a problem last time we went through this immigration crisis because there weren't enough people who were going out and picking the fruits and vegetables and doing these jobs that other Americans aren't doing or don't want to do, or they aren't getting paid enough to do, you have a serious issue. And so while this looks good on paper, and I'm with you, I mean,
Bakari.
but that
is the American economy completely and totally underpinned by murderers and rapists? That is just, they're going after the violent population. They're going after the people who have existing deportation orders. And I don't remember any breakdown in American supply chains under President Obama, who correctly deported millions of people. We've done this before.
Scott, I call BS, because we just started this conversation by saying that everyone agrees that you should deport those individuals.
I know, and now you're saying the fruit's going to rot.
That's not what. Scott, let's have a little bit of political deftness here for the audience and not be that intellectually dishonest, because I'm not talking about those people.
We won and you lost, and we're going to do it.
I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the individuals who don't have a driving infraction, but who are in a household with somebody who's going to be deported. I'm talking about those children who are here, who are the children of those individuals who are going to be deported. That imagery, yes, it has a ripple effect, and yes, it's going to have an effect on your tourism. It's going to have an effect on your agricultural system. And so, yeah, I mean, deport all these brown people you want, but at the end of the day, this is going to have a tangible effect.
They're not brown people. They're illegal immigrants. I'm sorry, to reduce this to a racial conversation, you want to talk about being dishonest? It has everything to do with breaking laws or not breaking laws. And are you going to have a chief executive who enforces the law or who doesn't? We haven't had one who wants to enforce the law, and now we do, and that's what people voted for.
You tried this.
But let me ask you this, because Trump also made a lot of promises on immigration in his first time in office, and I believe that Biden and Trump are on track to have around the same number of deportations, right? Why do you think that is?
We're in a totally different situation today than we were 4 years ago.
Okay, so
how many people came into this country over the last 4 years? Millions upon millions. We are different today than we were 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 20. We have never faced a crisis like this, and it's not just people coming here. It's what happens when they get here. We have illegal immigrants in this country who have committed heinous, violent crimes. That's why the Congress is passing the Laken Riley Act.
No,
these are terrible stories, and are we going to allow it?
There's no question.
Democrats are not contesting that.
You keep so
they contested it for the entire election. They claimed the border was fine.
The irony of this argument is that we go to the violent, illegal individuals who committed violent crimes. We go to that, and then, I talk about the economy, right? I talk about family structures and family units, and then it's like, oh, it's not a race issue. I'm not calling it any of that, but what I am saying...
You did. You said it was brown people.
No, I said yes, definitely. If you want to deport as many brown people as you want to, if that provides some semblance of success in terms of your policy initiatives, then so be it. But that is not necessarily all that we are talking about. This time frame is different. And yes, while some immigrants are committing crimes, you know what else? Immigration and immigrants who come to this country, many of them are within the underpinnings and fabric of what we do day in and day out. And if we can't recognize that, if we can't have a humane system to recognize that, then fundamentally we're going to have a problem.
Come here legally and you'll be fine. Come here illegally and you won't be. And that has to be the message. The message of the Democratic Party for the last 4 years was just come here and do whatever you want. And that ends Monday. And if you look at the New York Times poll from this weekend, this is not controversial. This is supported by Democrats, Republicans. People want action. And I think what you're going to see with the executive orders tomorrow is Trump not saying, well, we're going to get to it later. We're going to say, no, we start today. That's what's happening.
Can I be clear? and I'm not sure Democrats have been clear on this point, but I do know that Scott has a social media engine behind him, so I want to be clear when people replay this clip. I want individuals who come in this country to come into this country safely. I know many of them are fleeing harm in their home countries. I want them to come into this country legally, but I also want a humane system by which we send people back to the countries from which they're from. I want a humane immigration system, and I think that we're going to see it play out over the next 8-9 months, the inhumanity of the system that Donald Trump is proposing. If I'm wrong, God bless him.
What does that mean, inhumane?
Inhumane. I can tell you. I can tell you.
has to go
Let me
home.
give you a break, but I mean, there is a question about
I'll
like
explain it in
Venezuela,
the
for
break.
example, is a country that isn't going to, says it won't take anyone back. We heard Mike Waltz today, the president's incoming national security advisor, say they're working with other countries to see. So there are questions. And in terms of, the target, I believe it is 8% of the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the country do have criminal records. That is, I just want to put that in context for our viewers since we were talking about that.